So the gentleman you see with me right over there with the Syracuse jersey over his shoulder. Do we ever determine who that is? Is that Derek Coleman?
Come on. You really have to ask that question? You're old. You're not old enough. That's what this proves. You're not old enough.
When he played in college when I was like 3 years old. How am I going to know what number?
So good. I mean, you have to, honestly, if you've never watched Derek Coleman play at Syracuse, you need to YouTube it and watch it for a little while. He was an absolute MFer, like the biggest MFer like there was. So, yes, that is Derek Coleman's jersey. Devo, I got that after your pod with Derek Coleman. I was so excited. I recorded that one. I produced that one, sort of. Well,
you did not produce that.
I didn't produce it.
You sat on it for like an hour.
I sat on it and was like, "This is awesome." Listening to Derek Coleman.
I produced. Don't try to take credit for the production side.
Yes, I don't know how to produce a pod.
No,
I have no idea.
You don't know how to take notes. You don't know how to write down timestamps.
I do a good job of that.
You do an okay job of it. Because you want to know why? You want to know what the problem with you writing down the timestamps is? I have to do math every time. Because what you do is you'll have like your little 5-minute banter at the start, and then you'll write down the timestamps, including the 5-minute banter. But as soon as you clip out the banter, then it's like, oh my God, what are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Anyway, as always, the Best Bets live stream is powered by our partners over at Bet Rivers. Jeffrey, we had a wild Saturday.
We did. It was a good Saturday.
I'm gonna give you the floor now, and I'm gonna allow you to have your moment. Right, you can take your victory lap on Creighton. Go ahead, do it. Do what you got to do.
The Creighton Blue Jays absolutely blew out the number 3 team in the country, Villanova. They weren't ranked 3. I get it, but everybody and their mother, beyond Gonzaga and Baylor, if you were to put your house on one team, on one program, Rob Dauster, to win the national title, everybody and their mother would choose Villanova. But yesterday, that might have changed because the Creighton Blue Jays looked like the Creighton Blue Jays that I had as one of those teams that I think could make a run, a deep run, a Final Four run. Remember, last year, they were firmly entrenched as one of the teams that could win it all until, first of all, Marcus Zagorowski got hurt. Number 2, obviously, the NCAA tournament was scrapped. But they were unbelievable last year. And then Zagorowski got hurt. They lost Tyshawn Alexander, obviously, early to the pros. But Zagorowski just hasn't looked himself. He got hurt again earlier this year. Finally, yesterday, I think Marcus Zagorowski looked the part of an All-American. And he didn't even shoot it great, but he shot it well enough, and he commanded the floor. To me, he controlled the tempo. He was playing free. He was playing with confidence. And if that's the case, Rob, this team can score with anybody, and they're better defensively than Iowa. We know that.
Yeah, I'm worried about their consistency. Like we've seen too many games where, like the Georgetown game, where they lose at home to the Hoyas. But they've won 6 of the last 7. They've won 3 in a row. This was probably the best performance we've seen out of Creighton all season long.
It is.
Marcus Zagorowski is playing the best bat. Like yesterday was the best game that he's played all season.
Yep.
Maybe as well as he's played in his entire career. So I do think that if they can continue to play like this, then yes, you're right. I'm not sold that this was more than just like one great performance. I need to see more consistency. But
again, you just look around the country and you're like, okay, other than lately Ohio State, who else has been so good and so consistent? I mean, Michigan was. We'll see what happens today when they come back against Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. But for the most part, nobody has had these great stretches, right? Like,
yes, you're absolutely right. But so Creighton is amassed with a group of like 15 other teams that are kind of in that, like, well, yeah, I guess they can make a run, but like there's all this stuff that's also wrong with them. So
somebody's got to get there. Somebody else has to stay, not get there, but stay in Indianapolis.
You are right. Somebody has to get to the Final Four.
This is not a final,
by definition, there has to be 4 teams in the Final Four. You know what I think, though? Yeah. Here's what I kind of think the NCAA should do, right? Tell me what you think of this idea.
Here we go.
Take Baylor and Gonzaga out of the NCAA tournament, right? And just let them play a 7-game series for the national title, because that's what we want to see. Let them go 7.
Listen,
then this is what you do. Then just call like the NCAA tournament. Just have that be the NIT, and just play everybody else, because that's kind of what we're at right now. We got a bunch of NIT teams in Baylor and Gonzaga. So
no, what I like about your theory, here's what I like about your theory. I don't like the way you've got it set up, but I would say if Baylor and Gonzaga both get to the championship game, then they should play a 7-game series.
Yep. Well, I thought about this, right? And I think it was I think Alan, the Marquette fan, Alan Bykowski, I think is how you pronounce his name. He said this the other day and mentioned it to me on Twitter. And I think it's a really valid point, because if both of these teams get to the national title game undefeated, we don't want to play a series because we want that undefeated national championship, right? We want that guy that could create that team that can create history, that memory, that all-time great program. And it was I was like, I never even thought about it like that. You don't want to risk having a team with a loss on their resume just because you decided to play like a 5-game series or whatever. So I mean, that
we're not playing a series, so we're kidding.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
But
yeah, it doesn't matter.
But it would be fun. It would be fun to watch those two go toe to toe for 7 games as opposed to a one-off. But yeah, I listen. I think everybody's rooting for it. I mean, I do. I think everybody's rooting for that Baylor Gonzaga game. I don't know how good the ratings would be. I think the diehards, I shouldn't say everybody, I think the diehard college basketball fan is rooting for that, unless you went to Michigan or Ohio State or something.
I think the ratings would be pretty good, because the games would be really, really high level, right?
Yeah, I don't know how many.
The ratings for Virginia, Texas Tech were still pretty good.
It's going to be interesting this year without being in offices, how much that affects people doing brackets. Are they going to be able to do it? I mean, obviously you can do it over Zoom and all that stuff, and much of it is done online anyway now, so it shouldn't affect it that much. The banter won't be there quite the same. All right. Yeah. All right, I got to give you props. You came through, and hopefully people saw. I don't think I even did it in BetSports, but I took it.
I did it in BetSports. It's the third time this week we've gotten information at some point during the day that said, like, hey, someone's going to be out, and we logged in the bet, and I've made a bunch of money off of it this week. It was it was Oregon on Wednesday, it was Wake Forest on Tuesday, and on Saturday it was Missouri State, because I got a text that said that there's going to be 4 guys out 2 hours before it became public, and all of a sudden Bradley's missing like 4 of their top 6 guys, and boom. We banked on it. So that was
take it again today. Are you taking it again at 10 today?
I
took it. I don't love it now, but I took it.
Yeah, I'm a little less comfortable with it at
no kidding.
But I mean, it makes sense that line moved,
7 points. It moved 7 points.
Yeah, Bradley got their ass kicked yesterday. So is there anything else from Saturday's games that you think we need to touch on? The one thing that I will say is this. They released the projected top 16 seeds, right? And Oklahoma ended up being number 12 on that list and being a number 3 seed.
Yeah.
They beat one of the teams on the 3 seed line above them. One of the teams on the 3 seed line above them, Tennessee, lost. And then there is Virginia and Houston, who are would be directly above Oklahoma right now, assuming that Oklahoma jumped West Virginia and Tennessee. And Oklahoma has 5 quad 1 wins. Virginia and Houston combined have 5 quad 1 wins. Right. Virginia has not beaten a team ranked inside the top 45 in the net. Oklahoma has 5 of those wins. They have 5 top 30 wins. Houston beat Texas Tech on a neutral, but the only other thing that they've done is like beat Boise State at home and win at SMU. Right? It's not like either of those are great wins. So the net ratings themselves, like Oklahoma's trailing. I think they're like 20th or something, and then Virginia and Houston are both like 5 or 6. But I do expect Oklahoma to find a way to I would not be shocked if they ended up on the 2 seed line when it's all said and done, when we actually get the real bracket. Because I mean, look, Virginia's not playing anyone else that's really going to end up boosting their profile. Neither is Houston.
Hey, who's your? All right. I just tweeted out earlier today my top 6 or 7 candidates for the coach of the year today. Who's your coach of the year? If you had to give the award today to somebody, I added Lon Kruger, so I have a top 7 right now.
I called you out on that. You didn't even respond. I called you out on that.
Yeah, I don't follow you.
Yeah, you gotta get Lon Kruger in the mix. Right now, so Deshaun and I had a long conversation about this the other day. I'm kind of torn on it, right? Like generally speaking, the Coach of the Year award goes to the person that like had the most surprising season and the most overachieving season. Yeah, and so like I think Lon Kruger and Chris Holtmann and Juwan Howard all like really like make a lot of sense in that category.
Yep.
But Scott Drew and Mark Few were projected and picked to be like the two best teams in the country, right? They were ranked top 2 in the preseason. They're still top 2 in America right now. Neither of them have lost. Both of them have played difficult schedules. At some point, when you are thought of as the best team in the country and end up being like the best team in the country by a long, long way and by a wide, wide margin, and there goes my daughter screaming in the background, then you got to get credit for that too, right? Like I think that we absolutely have to. I would probably give co-coach of the year to Mark Few and Scott Drew at this point, just because of the fact that in a year where there is so much uncertainty, one of the things that you can bank on is that Baylor is going to be awesome and Gonzaga is going to be awesome. So I think I would probably give co-coach of the year to those two gentlemen.
I would agree. I don't like agreeing with you, but I'm going to agree with you. This is the second day in a row. I'm going to do it as well. And because, like you said, you're in a pandemic. They have lived up to the expectations. They have run the table so far. And they have also done it at places where it's not easy to do it. Like if you're doing it at Kentucky, Kansas, Carolina, Duke, even Arizona, whatever, it's been done. But to do it, I actually think it's harder. What Scott Drew has done at Baylor is actually harder than what Mark Few has done. And what Mark Few has done is ridiculously impressive. Going to the tournament every single year at Gonzaga. If you haven't been to Spokane, you need to go. It's amazing. So what these guys have done, building these programs into national powers right now and living up to the hype in a pandemic is absolutely insane. So I'm with you. I'm giving co-coach of the year to Mark Few and Scott Drew. They deserve it. No disrespect to the Chris Holtmans, the Lon Krugers, the Juwan Howards. Nate Oates has done an unbelievable job. Casey Alexander, probably the mid-major coach of the year at Belmont. They've lost one game.
I mean, Porter Mosier's been awesome too.
No doubt. I'm just doing Casey Alexander. I'm giving him it because he took over for Rick Byrd. He took over for an institution there. Yeah. And what they've done in a really good league, a really, really good OVC is amazing, and he's gotten no credit for it. Zero.
Yeah. All right. So just to finish recapping yesterday, Ohio State smacked around Indiana. Florida State came off of their pause and beat Wake Forest in overtime. Cade Cunningham kind of struggled again, but Oklahoma State was able to outlast Kansas State. We just mentioned Oklahoma. They played a double overtime thriller and won at West Virginia in probably – I think West Virginia's played two of like the best games of the season at home. It was West Virginia, Oklahoma, and West Virginia, Texas Tech. They become like must-see television.
I just love that. I never thought I'd say that. I love West Virginia.
Yeah, they're so much fun to watch. Texas beat up on TCU, kind of got right a little bit. How about this? LSU and Arkansas are now tied for second in the SEC, which is not something I ever thought I would say. LSU beat up on Tennessee yesterday, who they look bad. Tennessee did. They look bad and banged up and just kind of like
I hate down. I hate you for putting me on to the Vols earlier this year. Like I think you put me. You've tried with other teams. You tried with Pittsburgh. I didn't fall for that shit.
We won a couple bets on Pittsburgh though.
We did. Who else did you try with?
I don't remember. Alabama, Tennessee. I don't know.
Who else does Snow make fun of you for? Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay. First,
Auburn. Yeah,
the Pittsburgh thing is ridiculous because it was like after the Duke win, I was like, I'm not completely thrilled that Pitt's not like good, and it ended up they weren't good, but like whatever, okay. And the Auburn one, we won like 6 straight bets on.
No. I was with you with Auburn.
Do you know what happened? Like I think I had Auburn right, and I'm going to take credit for having them right because what I said was Sharik Cooper there, they're a different team. And if they can find a way to get another playmaker going, then all of a sudden they become really dangerous. But they don't have another playmaker. And teams have figured out if you throw 2 guys at Shareef Cooper, then he take the ball out of his hands, then they stink. They figured out that Shareef Cooper can't shoot, right? And the idea, look, I don't want to be too harsh on the kid, but like I've seen mock drafts where Sharif Cooper is going in like the top 10, and I don't get that. I don't get that. So I don't know. Anyway, Arkansas also won at Missouri in overtime yesterday. Gonzaga smacked San Francisco. USC got a win over Washington State on the road, and Virginia, like I told you, Jeff, knocked off North Carolina at home in a game where North Carolina
I'll give you that.
Seemed to get that going. But I think the game that's the biggest talking point, and we can kind of tie this into a preview for today, is that Loyola ran all over Drake in the second half. They were down 3 at halftime, jumped all over him, ended up winning by 27. And that sets the stage for what I think is probably the most important mid-major game of the season today. If Drake wants a chance to get an at-large bid, they have to win today. They cannot lose today. Otherwise, they're going to head into Selection Sunday without having a win over a top 100 team on their resume, right? And they don't have another chance. They're not going to get another chance to beat Loyola.
They're screwed, especially if they don't get Tank back. Like, that's the problem. Now you're going to go in, and they might lose another one. Like, that's the problem. If you get swept today, all of a sudden they go down the stretch and they may lose another one. And then no, you have to win the league tournament. You got to get Tank back for the league tourney. He comes back from a broken foot. Who knows? I mean, again, you don't come back from a broken foot and you're not ready to go after 4 weeks. You're just not.
No, you're not. And the other problem is, like, Drake is not going to have another chance to get a great win because they're going to be the number 2 seed in the Missouri Valley tournament. They're going, if they lose or if they play Loyola, they're going to beat Loyola and win the automatic bid. So, like, Drake has to win today. It's a must-win game for them today. They are, according to our friends over at Bet Rivers, they are getting, I believe it's 5.5 points.
It is
today. And let me just tell you guys real quick a bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for Bet Rivers yet, now's the time. Bet Rivers Sportsbook is offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money when you win at Bet Rivers. They pay fast, and now it's even faster with Rush Pay instant approval for withdrawals. It's safe, it's secure, it's reliable. I can confirm that because I use them. With March Madness right around the corner, there's never been a better time to give Bet Rivers Sportsbook a try. Go to betrivers.com today or download the Bet Rivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Jeffrey, Drake is getting 5.5 points. What are you doing here?
I'm tweeting out Bryce Drew's record right now to somebody that's coming at me.
Oh, shocker.
Bryce Drew, 12-3, 6-0 in league play, just in case you were wondering. I am taking Loyola again. I'm taking the harmonica-loving Cam Krutwig. I think that's what Norlander wrote about. I honestly have no idea. I got through like 40 words of the 800, and I was ready to fall asleep. I like Loyola here again. Without Tank, I just don't think this Drake team is the same. They came off a pause recently, so they lost kind of some of their mojo a little bit there. They haven't beaten anybody. We talked about this. The best team they've beaten all year is Missouri State. Missouri State. Mm-hmm. They're not even right. Missouri State, last I checked, I don't believe they are even in the top.
No, they're not. They're not. Missouri State.
96 now in the net. They're 96. So they just cracked.
They're a top 100 win then.
Right. Top 100 win in the net. Good job. But like, this Drake team is completely unproven. Where Loyola, to me, again, you've got some pieces that were obviously in the Final Four run. You've got some athletes also on that team. You've got a good mix of skill and athleticism. So they can play, to me, they can play not fast, but they can get up and down when they need to. They play through Cam Krutwig, and he's so smart. He's such a tough matchup because he passes it so well from the post. So I just think, to me, I would go for another win. I don't know if they're going to win by 5.5, but I don't think they lose this game. I feel pretty good about even giving the 5.5.
Yeah, I would probably be on Loyola in this spot. I'm not gonna bet it because it really does feel like a bounce back spot, and like Drake has to win. They have no other option other than to win this game. So they're playing at home. It's a back-to-back. So I'm gonna stay away personally. But I will say this: Loyola is now a top 10 team on KenPom, and they are number 13 in the net, which just kind of tells you all you need to know. All right, the other big game of the day, Probably the biggest game of the day is Michigan at Wisconsin. Obviously, the Wolverines are coming off of their pause. They are laying a point in Madison. That total is 133.5. Jeff, what do you like there?
What are we talking about? Sorry.
Oh, wow. Look at you paying attention. Michigan.
No, Michigan's back. Yeah, Michigan's back. Big game. Even though Michigan beat the living crap out of Wisconsin the first time around in Ann Arbor, you worry, right? I mean, it's been since January 22nd. They haven't played. That's a long time. I don't know how many days that is, Rob, but it's about 3 weeks. It's about 3 weeks.
It's a lot of time. And for me, the biggest concern is that we've seen with some of these layoffs where guys are able to get in the gym, they're able to at least work out on their own. But this was like a shutdown from the state of Michigan, and they were basically told, like, look, you cannot leave your building. We got to lock you down. They had the new variant of COVID there, so it's a problem. So I think that they're going to be out of shape. We saw it yesterday with Xavier. We saw it yesterday with who's the other Florida State. So it is what it is. I think we have to be on Wisconsin, even though it just feels so disgusting betting on the Badgers. I'm not a Badgers guy. All right,
but I'm with you. I mean, listen, it's basically a pick 'em game right now. Wisconsin's favored by 1. I think it went up. It was a pick 'em, and I think now Wisconsin's favored by 1. I took Wisconsin last night, so I like the Badgers here again. The other part is I still don't feel like Michigan has played. I mean, look at it. How many tough environments? Not that this is a tough environment, but a road game against a pretty good team. Like, has Michigan played a tougher game so far this year, Rob? Where have they played? At Maryland.
It depends on what you think of like
Minnesota.
Yeah,
they lost at Minnesota. Purdue. They just beat Purdue before they went on the pause.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Right. This is the most difficult game for them anyway. Like anyway on the schedule, and then you throw in this long pause. And Joe's saying, if anything, Michigan will have fresh legs. You can look at it that way. You can. I think 3 weeks is too fresh.
Yeah, I mean the problem is like if you're basically stuck in your apartment for 2 weeks and you're not able to go play, like they call it game shape for a reason. So it's very easy to get out of that when you're supposed to be in peak physical condition. All right, there's a couple more that I like. I really like Penn State -11 playing against Nebraska. Nebraska's got I have no idea why the Big Ten thought that this was a good idea, but they're playing 7 games in 12 days.
Yeah.
They played on Saturday, they played on Tuesday. No, I'm sorry. They played on Sunday, they played on Tuesday, they played on Thursday. Wait, maybe I got this. No, they played last Friday. They played Sunday
in like 6 days, I think. Right?
Yeah,
I think it's 4 and 6.
Right. This is their 5th game in 8 days, and then they go after, and then tomorrow they go to Nebraska, or I'm sorry, they go to Maryland, and they play 2 games back-to-back days at Maryland. So they're playing 7 games in 12 days. This is their 5th in 8
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday this week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday this week.
And so like it's ridiculous. Like it's to me, like that should not be happening. That you're not looking out for the welfare of the student athletes that are playing. Like, no, that's too many games. That should not be happening. But I mean, they're coming off of an overtime game against Illinois that they lost. They probably should have won. So I like Penn State here. Letdown spot. These guys are tired. They're running out of legs. Penn State's actually kind of good. So I like the Lions here. I also happen to like I like Miami. I think 7.5 is too many points to give to a team that's been able to scrap the way they've been able to scrap. I don't think Notre Dame is necessarily all that good. And then I also like Maryland laying the 2.5 at home against Minnesota. Remember, Maryland beat Minnesota at Minnesota, and the big thing about it is they're able to like switch all ball screens, and they have all these guys that are basically the same size, and you can kind of take away Marcus Carr when you do that.
I just go against Minnesota on the road. I mean, that's honestly, it's simple for me with Minnesota. If they're at home and they're laying less than 3, I take them. If they're on the road, I generally just go against them.
Yep.
You know, that's just kind of what I do at this point. Minnesota versus spread on the road this year, 0-5, in case you're counting. Couple more things I like. What do I like? I like go against Elon. Go against Elon today. Elon, remember, they only played they didn't play from January 3rd till January 30th, Rob. Till January 30th. They have now played 5 games since they've been back. They played Charleston today, and I think they're getting 7. Here are the spreads they've lost by: 23, 5, 21, 9, and 18. They're at Charleston today. Charleston's not great, but I just feel like, again, Elon, man, you're out that long, you're not able to do anything, and you come back. You've lost overall now 8 straight games. So I think Charleston's going to kind of take it out on them. What about Cincinnati? I kind of like UCF there, Rob. They're giving points. Cincinnati isn't good enough to give 5.5 to anybody. Yep. So since he's 3-10 versus spread this year, 1-5 versus the spread at home, and they're giving 5.5 in what, honestly, it's a pick'em game. It's a complete pick'em game. I probably would just – I don't know what it is. I can look right now what the money line is.
For what? UCF is plus 195 on the money line.
Yeah, I love it.
We're at Bet Rivers.
Yeah, really like it. Don't you?
I guess. I mean, it's UCF.
The value. All I'm saying is the value is there. The value.
Yeah. I mean, it's UCF. That's the only problem. The only other game that I think we should mention is Seton Hall laying 7.5 at home against Marquette. If you want to fade Marquette, I don't think that's a bad play.
That's what I'm doing. They're 1-6. I believe 1-6 against the spread on the road this year. They're not great. I mean, they got humiliated last game. That's the only thing that kind of. And I think Wojo's now is hearing the talk about his job security. I don't know how this goes, but it could go one way or it could go the other. They could rally behind him if they like him, or they could start to throw in the towel.
I don't know. I don't know if there's the leadership on that roster to be able to do that. Let's just phrase it like that. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Anything else? Let me just make sure. Morgan State. Yesterday they lost. I took them. They lost. They get another shot against Norfolk State today. They're giving 3.5. I think they get a split there. And then the other one is Holy Cross getting 7, Rob? 7.5. Let me see.
7.5 at home against BU.
Right. 7.5 at home against BU in a team that's 0-5 against the spread at home. That's BU. Remember, they got to wear the mask. Holy Cross just beat them. BU's had a tough year, just brutal year. They're talented. Without everything that's gone on, they'd probably be towards the top of that league, but it's been a brutal year. So I'd take Holy Cross on the points there.
Yeah, and always make sure you go follow us on BetSperts. That's where we are going to log all of our bets. It's a lot easier to figure it out exactly right there. And again, 3 times this week we've gotten info,
right?
And we've been able to make money and profit off of the bets that we've made off.
Yeah. So, if you did those 3 like we did, like I don't think I think I've probably been close to 50% this week, but those 3,
I'm under 500 this week, but I've been profitable because of that. So, go follow us on BetSperts, and we will see you guys again tomorrow morning.